Reflections of you and a like a pot of reflections of me in the one glass. Remains of a curry left on the table, should it be swept away? All in my pocket, tearing my purse, why all the money's fallen through. Dirty old photo at the bottom of my handbag, should it be swept away? Rotten tea bags by the bedside, dead flowers in the china vase, plastic bags full of mementos, shall it be swept away? 10 years worth of wasted time, all those lyrics that never rhyme, those dreadful albums in your record collection, shall it be swept away? Dirty dishes by the basin, chocolate wrappers on the bedroom floor. This regime is quite obscene and becomes a dreadful bore. You took up smoking, I took up crack. Nothing seemed to matter after that, but this old game just stays the same and must not be swept away.
Wow, love that.
Miss Roberts.
That's that. My name's Cos Chapman, and I make silly noises. That's my main forte, and I perform and play as part of the Rude Mechanicals with Miss Roberts, who's the one essential part of that particular band ensemble, whatever you want to call it.
Right, so tell me a little about Rude Mechanical, what it's all about, and because I've noticed your music isn't sort of like the norm. It's totally, it's different. You know, you couldn't listen to your band and say, oh yeah, it's like so-and-so. It isn't. To me, it isn't. So can you explain a little bit about your music and what you're trying to achieve with it?
I have stories in my head, and I also, due to a slight abnormality of my brain, tend to hallucinate a lot and experience peculiar things, and so I write stories, and then Cos writes the music to go with it, and then we go to the band and say we've got this, and they create music.
So, Derek. Now, let's talk about Derek, because I did actually spend an evening with him.
Yes.
And he didn't buy a round, but there you go.
He's over there.
There's two
Derek's
versions
right there.
of him.
There's more than one version of Derek. That's the one you had the other night.
This is the one that
Someone's kissed him, well, he's got lipstick.
That was me.
Yeah. I see.
I handed him back eventually, but we was, you know, he had a good time anyway.
Yeah. I've got a man in my loft. I like to call him Derek. Derek is a big man, and he crouches painfully in the tiny corners of my loft. During the day, he orders my junk alphabetically, and during the night he stomps up and down above my bed. I know, I can hear him. Fill the stage and that sweet, sweet smell. Sweat I smell whenever I go to bed at night. It reminds me of the bells. Sometimes he reminds me of the birds. I got a man in my loft and I call him Derek. He's not as good as you, but he's cheap. Derek. I got a man in my loft and I call him Derek. He's not as good as you, but he's cheap. Derek. I got a man in my loft and I call him Derek. Not Bill or George, but Derek. I got a man in my loft and I call him Derek. I got a man in my loft and I call him Derek. I got a man.
She got a man.
I got a man.
She got a man.
I got a man.
She got a man.
I've got a man. And I like to call him Derek. Well, his pink, bulky body. Sometimes he reminds me of the birds. Sometimes he reminds me of the birds.
So,
Nice job.
so tell me about Derek. Is maybe an imaginary man or not imaginary man that lives in the attic. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I could hear noises in my attic, quite sinister noises, well, I just knew that Derek was up there. I could tell Derek was up there. He was eating the bugs. He was drinking from the hot water tank. So one day, being terribly brave as I am, I decided I would climb up and leave a ladder for Derek, so he could get down if he wanted to, and he did.
And what did he look like?
Derek.
That's him.
That's
Now,
what's left of him.
Protect myself from Derek, I made lots of Derek heads, and what I did was I put the power of Derek, the energy of Derek, into the heads, so that I would be protected from him.
Okay, now was it Derek? Was he a spirit, or was he sort of good energy, bad energy? How would you describe him? Was he? I take it he wasn't human.
He was.
Or maybe human form.
He was. No, he wasn't human. He was. I don't. How would you describe Derek?
He was big and bulky, definitely. He's
Yeah.
quite large.
You saw him as well.
No, I just heard the descriptions and so on. So I'm never seen Derek. I just have heard rumours, I suppose you'd call it, and I know the bits and pieces that I've picked up over the years. he was large and he liked to eat a lot. Once he got out and down from the loft, I think he used to like just sitting on the sofa eating, basically. He just got
Yeah.
bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
And eventually you had to stuff him under your bed, is
Yeah.
that right?
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
then
it was
it just,
the way to go.
he just stayed there.
He did.
Yeah, could you still hear him?
Oh, I quite enjoyed it actually. He used to go whilst under my bed.
Okay.
It was quite
That's
good
very-
fun.
Now the
Nice.
actual music for Derek was presented to me by Miss Roberts in a sort of slightly unusual form. She'd got a
You see, what happens is I get what the doctor tells me are hallucinations and derealizations and all that sort of stuff, and but the thing is, these things, they, in a way, although the doctor can say that, they are also very real, and so they require certain behaviour to make myself safe.
Do you believe they're really hallucinations?
Well, they have an energy, they are a thing in themselves, and so although part of you can believe that they're hallucinations, part of you also knows that they're not hallucinations.
Right. The other thing I wanted to ask you is you did a tune which was a tango. What attracts you to the tango?
Well, the tango. I like the tango, it's great.
It's one of my favourite songs.
And
I'd
the
say.
song is about a relationship that was splitting up.
Ran its
So
course.
why? What attracts you to the actual dance of the
Well,
tango?
there's something quite abrupt, isn't there? My mum, she used to, when we were kids, she used to grab us. She was very strict, my mum, very strict, and not very good at showing love to her kids. But she used to do these things, so one day she would just grab you and do the tango with you down the kitchen.
Right.
And that was great. I loved that. So that's why I like the tango. It's a great piece of music, and
Yeah, that was actually sort of co-written in a way.
Yeah,
That's one of the few I did some.
he did the middle verse
Yeah, the Dreadful Albums in Your Record
collection.
And I mean, I've been messing around with. I was getting bored with like basic rock rhythms, I suppose, and I was trying to play stuff on the guitar that was less obviously sort of like going to be a 12-bar blues derivative or a 4-chord trick. It kind of ended up still being slightly bluesy and slightly 4-chordy, but
I thought it was very good, very impressive.
oh, thank you very much.
So,
That's
yeah.
most kind, most kind.
Right, now the other thing I've got to ask you is, I've noticed you call yourself Miss Roberts.
Hmm.
Why do you do that? Because you must have other names. I mean, why have you decided on Miss Roberts?
It's my name.
Okay, I suppose that's, but yeah, people usually have first names or, middle names and...
Well, I don't want you using my first name. That's very it's very rude.
Okay, so you think it's rude to use people's first names?
No, it's just my
You
first name.
Just your first name.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us your first name?
No.
Okay.
need to-
I had to try on that one. You know what I mean? I had to sort of like slip that in, you know what I mean? But there you go. Okay. Right. So you've obviously had, how long has the band actually been going?
Well, I'm too young to know that.
No, it's your grandmother started, I believe, way back in.
I have special powers of
Special powers of
yes.
reincarnation or
Yes.
yes, longevity. 1999, I believe, the actual first incarnation.
Okay.
Though previous to that, there had been various other little bands floating around Cambridge, mostly with sort of myself and a few sort of students, and it was. So trying to remember some of the names. The Fetish Girls was one, and Oh Hideous Bill Gang.
I
Greenpeace Aseptic Flesh was another,
That was a bit long.
Yes, I think that's why that got dropped. And
We used to hold soirees
that
in
was
Cambridge.
the thing. We used to do soirees.
Did you used to live in Cambridge then?
I
Yes, he did.
I did. You was still
And
in
where did
London,
you
I think.
originally come from?
Originally, Bexley Heath.
Oh, right.
Though, you know, you could say my alter ego, Jo Fisher Roberts, she came from Bexley Heath, whereas I came into this world, yes, in a different, in Cambridge, actually along with the soirees.
Along with the soirees,
Yeah,
indeed.
they
So we
came
ran
together.
a series of things, soirees. They grew until they became a little organisation called LEAPS, which is the Live Experimental Arts Performance Society, which I sort of started in along with my colleague, and we managed to get Arts Council funding. What? I mean, unbelievable. But there was nothing else going on in Cambridge, believe it or not. And so they were really, really keen to get something going. And so we did things like the old Industrial Museum, and things like that. And Root Mechanicals came about during those various soirees that we organised. We called them e-soirees because E was like a thing that you stuck in front of things in those days. And you know, we had all sorts. We had music, we had people showing short films, spoken word,
Strange
dance,
sculptures.
we had living statues. She was
Yeah,
very good
yeah.
actually. She was a friend of ours did a living statue.
So that was back then. I'm thinking of doing it again here. We're
Yeah, I think you
having
should.
a soiree,
Mm.
Christmas soiree,
Yeah.
and I think
80th, is it?
it's a bit small here, so
Are we invited?
you can come if you like. Yeah.
I'd like to come.
Come as you are, you will meet very strange people.
Can you tell me, have you ever played abroad?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what countries have you played in, and which ones did you like the best?
Berlin mostly is where
Berlin.
we've
I
played.
can imagine you go
yes.
down well in Berlin.
Oh yes. Oh, yes.
Right.
That was an interesting one because we, I don't know quite how it happened, but we were playing what was an old East German squat. What was it called? Do you remember the name? It means big lady, I think is the translation approximately. And yeah, it was an amazing place. I mean, we got fed, we got put up, and the place was rammed. I mean, I bought a few albums with me, like, you know, a dozen.
We've played a few times
Yeah,
there
we
now.
played a few times. And like, I sold out the records in about a minute after we finished the gig.
He
It's
was
like, couldn't sell them quickly
very
enough.
popular.
Oh.
There was a group of young girls who were glamour models for,
Something like that. So
for a
I've been led
local
to believe.
film company. Well, you know, they were coming to French, weren't they? That's
French,
it,
they
yes.
were French, yes, they
And,
were French.
Yes.
They thought I was very nice. For, it's the lead guitarist thing, isn't it? You know. What can I say?
I think the Germans are sort of like quite into swag. A friend of mine was used to sell bootleg Hong Kong
Yeah.
films in. I think it was in Berlin, and basically he had cases full of the stuff, and they were going, "Oh yeah," and he thought he was being caught by the police. It turned out that they wanted the film. He never even got the films into the building to sell them. He sold them outside on the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just
that sounds
they're
about right.
mad kids. You know.
Just went.
Yeah.
Any, I mean, I wish I'd just brought more out with me. I couldn't get any more in my
Well, next
bag.
time you'll remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just you know, cases of the stuff.
We did that one with Dylan, or was it Stanley, or was it? I can't remember what incarnation he was
Was
in.
he?
Was
I
she?
can't remember. Yes.
I think it was Stanley Bad.
Stanley Bad,
Stanley
yeah.
Bad at the time.
What was Stanley
violin. Sorry.
Bad? What was Stanley Bad?
Stanley Bad is on the vinyl album that we've got, well, the most recent one, and it's he plays violin, keyboards, trumpet.
Wow.
He's,
Very
and
mu-
spoons.
spoons. Yeah,
Spoons. I
And
do
he
like a good spoon player.
and he tap dance. So we have got a recording, but I haven't released it yet of him tap dancing. But it's like the percussion track for a song, so it's him tap
Can I
dancing.
ask you, do you release your own records, or do you, or have you got a record label, or?
Right. Well, that's complicated. Do you want to answer that, or shall I?
Well, We did have a record label. They're called, what were they called?
Well, we had Rim first.
There was Rim Records, which is Sexton Ming's record label.
Yeah.
Sexton Ming is, but you know,
You don't know what?
No, I'll agree with you.
He's
I
one of
just-
the Medway poets.
Okay, I was a
Yeah.
punk poet myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
So look up Sexton
Well, I
Ming.
was the worst poet ever. But
I can do an impersonation of Sexton Ming.
No, best not, dear.
He's part of the same. I mean, Billy Childish is probably the best known out of the Medway scene. So Billy Childish has had various.
Anyway, so there was them, and then there was the next people.
Anarchist Wood.
It was
Ex Gratia was the name of the label.
yeah.
Anarchist Wood, I've heard of.
Yeah, they very old friends of ours. We were playing down here at weekends while I was still based in Cambridge, and I was ferrying the bloody band down in my car at the time, and so bass player, drummer, etc., etc.
But they were very alternative, very squat scenes and all that sort of thing.
They actually formed the band after us, didn't they?
Anarchist Wood.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I can't remember what they were.
We started coming down here.
I can't remember what the name of the label is.
Punkvert, Ex Gratia was the label.
Ex Gratia, that's it.
Funk Cutter is Emma, or the main mover of things.
Anyway, for me, their music is a bit too full on kind of noise.
Well, it's quite loud. It's not noise really, but it does tend to be quite loud.
Whereas,
it's actually very intricate.
Because unfortunately.
Find loud noise is difficult.
Unfortunately, Paul died recently.
Oh, God, yeah, that was terrible.
And well, I like to tell my stories, you see. So I don't. Well, I have sensitive ears, and I don't want the band to be too loud because I like to tell my stories, sort of thing. So,
you did it very well, I must say. I mean, I was quite enthralled by the band, and it's like because we usually go and see a band, and it's like guitars and there's some bloke on a drum running away. And you think, yes, I think I've been here before. You know what I mean? But in your case, I was like, yeah, this is something different.
Yeah.
So that's a different. Personally, I'm always looking for something different, something a little bit more.
The thing I love about performing is, and you hear it, things like James Brown?
Yeah.
And people like that. But there's a thing that goes through you, like an energy that goes through you, and that's why I like to have bare feet. Is there's an energy that goes through you, and it's like it's not you anymore, and you're just like, you're there, and
yeah, this is the small ensemble we're playing with at the moment. We've got basically two separate bands plus the duo, so I would say there's the cello and there's musical saw theremin vocal. Is like a very much an acoustic thing, and I'm playing acoustic guitar with that. And then there's a slightly louder ensemble which features
and your fingers. I was worried about your fingers. Are they cold?
Huh?
Are your fingers okay?
No, they're fine. I had to put my gloves on because I was out and I didn't bother taking them off. But yeah, they're fine.
So at the moment we've got Jowhead and Jeff Bloom, who are both from the television personalities you must have heard of. Jow was in Swell Maps as well. And then we've got Marina, who's she's in Shockheaded Peters and people like that. She's on bass, and that's like a more obviously rock ensemble, and I play electric guitar with that. But my long-term project as so I suppose a arranger has been to try and remove the guitar, even though that's my main instrument, because I just think a guitar should be like there is in the role of filling in things when the vocalist isn't doing anything, but get the hell out of there when the vocalist is singing, because you're just cluttering up that frequency range where the vocals are sitting. So it's fine to have a bass. The bass is right, you know, unless you happen to be a basso profundo vocalist. Drums, as long as they're not like too forceful.
I love drums. I love
drums
percussion.
can sound amazing.
And
yeah,
there's something about percussion
really
that's
good. I
great,
can't
but
play
the
it.
trouble is,
Overkill.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And drummers we have, and this isn't particularly the one we've got now. This is generally they go really. They're on their full drums and they go really loud. They're like bang bang
Yeah,
bang bang
yeah.
bang 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 bang. And it's like, well, you can't hear it once it's that loud.
Yeah, you want dynamics. You need to be quiet, foreground the vocals, get the story, and then you can come in for a chorus.
Do you think Jeff
or
will talk
whatever.
to us again after that?
Might do, might do. Well, he's amazing. It's like playing brushes, and Jeff's like, he's a big guy, he's about 6'4", and he's a very, very good drummer, incredibly experienced. He used to play with the television personalities from their heyday, and so he's got a range of styles. He can do funk, he can do Latin, whatever, but he's big, and to get him to like choke back a bit in a smaller venue is very difficult for him, just the size of the man. So we got him to play with brushes at Cafe Oto, and I know he found it incredibly difficult. Like, this is not, I'm not getting the bounce of things that I'm expecting, it's not behaving the way I expect, but he was actually really good. Like, you know, it's a really difficult thing to do, and he did it so well. And so I'm hoping we can get him to develop that side. Gives him an extra dimension. You know, it's not stopping him from going and playing out as a sort of, you know, full sort of punk rock drummer, but it gives you a sort of an extra kind of dimension to mess with.
You can dance when you've got drums, can't you? You can,
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got that.
You've got it there.
Yeah, things makes you want to move, and good drums. You barely need to do anything else.
Right. So what I would like to ask is, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to the band, and what's the best thing?
Oh my!
I know.
I wish you'd given us warning about this.
Well, I didn't think of warning. I mean, I was sort of like, it's a question I ask a lot of bands, but basically, you know, you always get a good, interesting, different answer.
I'll give a couple of answers, and then you can have some moments to think about what you consider the worst. One of the worst things that have happened. It wasn't as bad as all that in some ways, but we got asked, this when we were based in Cambridge, we got asked to play Hugo's Speaker Palace, which is sort of under the arches near...
I saw him the other day.
Yeah, he's still around. Near London Fields. No, not London Fields, what I'm saying, Hackney Downs. So underneath the arches at Hackney Downs, and it had a reputation. It was like, I'd heard of it, even though I was based in Cambridge. And talking to people, oh yeah, you always get all these people there, it's really rad, blah blah blah. And speaking to Marina now, she used to go there regularly. They used to, oh yeah, pubs clear out, off we go to Hugo's.
This is before he knew Marina.
It's before I knew Marina.
Marina is your...
My fiancée.
Yes, your fiancée.
And so, you know, had a good reason to go there. So off we went. We went and arrived, and we got there about, I don't know, 6 or something like that, and set up, did a sound check. Everyone thought we sounded great. There's about 8 or 9 people there, the barman, someone doing tech, a couple of other people, sort of thing. And so we thought, well, we're probably going to play about 10:30, something like that. 10:30 comes and goes, no one. 11:30 comes and goes, not a soul. 12 o'clock, and Hugo's going, not sure why there's no one here. It's really unusual. We actually played at about 3:30 in the morning to about 12 people, I should think, and this is a massive hall. And it was just, oh God, why did we drag ourselves all this way? It was late, I couldn't drink because I was driving, I'd driven everyone down. So I had to drive all the way back to Cambridge. I think we got home at about 8 in the morning. And it was just one of those really draining, depressing experiences. However, from that, there's one person there, Sarge, who's now based in Birmingham, I think, and he thought we were brilliant. I mean, the sound man thought we were great and was taping us, and he's sort of like, oh wow, yeah, this isn't. So it's like, not that we weren't playing well or anything like that, but he booked us then for a whole series of things, and we started playing on the Isle of Dogs, which was kind of a strange experience.
Well,
going to the Isle
there
of
was
Dogs.
some interesting
Yes,
performances there.
And then we had, what was it, the Bullet Bar, where we had, I can't remember what her name was, but we got a sort of semi-residency there. So a lot of things actually came out of it, but at the time,
It was.
oh my God, depressing. Why are we bloody dragging ourselves all this way for this? You know, it's,
But you got a result.
we got a result out of it, but it was sort of like a few weeks later, someone.
At
got
the
in
time,
touch.
it felt dreadful.
Oh man!
And then, of course, we had to drive all the way back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Cambridge.
that was the worst.
Yeah,
It was just
I think
getting back.
Audience participation is a big thing in bands, and if you haven't got it, it's. I think there's a big lapse in energy.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, some of our gigs early on had almost, you know, like 3 people in the
Yeah,
audience.
literally 3 people. Maybe a dog as well if you're lucky.
Yeah. That's one guy used to bring his dog.
Dog, yeah.
I would bring my dog to see you because she'd love you and you're not too loud. So you know, I mean, I wouldn't take her to see other bands because of her hearing.
Too
It's
bloody
40,
loud,
but she'd love you.
Yeah.
So you know, but you know, she's a Jack of Wild. She's a little.
Oh, lovely. Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's 3/4 Chihuahua and 1/4 Jack Russell. She's very sweet. She's 14 now. She'll be 14 in January.
Oh, I still remember Monty, her dog. He was, little Yorkie. I didn't like small dogs, and Monty completely converted me.
Yeah,
It was
no,
just such a
same with
lovely
my dog.
animal.
People say I don't like small dogs. I mean, he
Yeah.
doesn't. John hates small dogs, but he likes my dog.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
You know, just this had so much. How do you get so much personality in something so small? You know, it's just like amazing. You get to meet the cat.
Oh, you got a cat?
I have a cat.
You like cats?
Cats.
This is a rescue cat.
This cat was the last flat I was in. The woman who was in there left her cat behind, so I sort of adopted it. But it's one hell of a moody cat. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, it tries to scratch and bite you. If you
And
go
it
anywhere near
refuses to go out of the house as well, which really annoys me because I think cats should leave.
Yeah, it'd never been let out. This woman just left it behind. Didn't even tell you. Just so you arrive at the flat, move in.
It's,
Oh,
a,
bloody
free,
hell, there's
it's
a
a
cat.
free cat though.
Yeah.
Free stuff's always good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
free
I met
stuff's
the cat.
good. You know what I mean?
Well, this poor thing was like about roughly the size of a football with paws
Yeah,
sticking out the
she's
corners.
been very
Just been
overfed.
fed, nothing else. No socialisation.
Actually, after the interview, I'll tell you a free stuff story. You'll laugh.
Okay.
But it's okay. So now we're on to the best thing that ever happened to the band. The best thing.
Mwah. You've got any ideas?
Oh God! Yeah.
Okay, I will start with. I've got a list. First, going to Berlin for the first time was absolute knockout. We had a fantastic
Oh yeah, and when we
time.
woke up in the morning, this is the best bit about it. We've just played in Berlin. He's got loads of
No,
young women
you're-
following him.
Oh,
Which
really?
is
Oh,
amazing.
proper rock star. Okay.
I wasn't so happy because nobody
No
was interested
young
in
men
me.
were
Oh,
following.
really?
no.
I find that very surprising.
And Dylan
from
wasn't
us.
too happy because he was trying to pull and didn't. So.
But anyway, it was a great night. But the best bit about it was we slept there because they found us this old bed to sleep in.
It was proper beds.
They were proper beds actually, weren't they? It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't bad
But
at
it was
all.
in the same. We all had to sleep in the same room.
Yeah.
But anyway, the best thing was they did us a wonderful breakfast.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
morning.
Yeah,
It was
amazing.
great.
Like, just
And what
like
was it for breakfast? Because
everything.
Everything.
Did you get sausage?
Yeah.
They love
It
sausage. I went to
Vegetarian in my case.
I've never been to Berlin, but I've been to Germany quite a few times, and they're sausage mad.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, oh my
They're known
god!
for their
You
burst.
go to a shop and the bloke's trying to give you a sausage with your change, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know what I mean? They love sausage
They're
in
keen on
Germany.
the sausage.
Yeah.
Yes. So
there's no answer.
I'm sure there's a dirty joke in there.
Yeah, I know.
I just
They
realised
give
what I
them
just said.
sausage, yeah, they try and give you a sausage whenever your back is turned. So
that's very superb.
okay, but yeah, that was really brilliant. We had an album launch and a film. So we had a film made by this crew. It's at the Portobello Film Festival, and we had the launch of it, The Beautiful and the Rare.
And that was about the band.
That was a 90-minute documentary about the making of the Cyclops and the Wildebeest. It's available on Vimeo, and it's you'll laugh. You mainly laugh actually. I don't think you're going to cry.
I'm going to look it up now.
Oh, you got to.
Where's it
Beautiful and the
available?
Rare. Vimeo. It's
Goes on for a bit long.
It's 90 minutes. It's lovely.
Well,
It's great.
I find this a lot with films that I watch, just any film, and you think, I could have cut 20 minutes out of that.
I think that you're saying that because there wasn't more of you.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
mostly about me.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of
I like
course.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to recognise star quality.
But,
No. Yeah, it's made by. So it'd be
Funk Cutter.
Funk Cutter, and what was that? Their identity at that point, I can't remember. They have so many different sort of incarnations, but they're basically VJs from the rave scene, and they were starting to do promotion, and they decided they wanted to make a film, and it was Paul, aka Candy Flip, who was a producer and recording engineer and mixer for the album. An amazing job that he did, and they also at the same time were filming it, and that got turned into this documentary which was presented to the Portobello Film Festival in 2000 and something, I can't remember, 11, 12, something like that, and it won the prize.
wow.
It actually got top film
Wow.
prize.
That's amazing.
It was quite an entertaining. I thought it was very good because I was in it. And,
I can't actually remember it.
what? You were drunk? You
Yeah.
were wandering around Regent's Park. There's film of you staggering around Regent's Park swearing at geese.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder you don't remember it, to be fair. But yeah, that's my distinct memory. And then they couldn't find Linda Beast, and they had to interview Stanley Baird instead, and who disclaimed any knowledge of having taken part in the recording. And then they couldn't find Tom at all, who was the drummer at the time, and so he appears as a cartoon speaking in binary code.
Does he?
Yes.
How can you speak in
Fast
binary
name.
code? Actually, you can't actually speak in it. I mean, you have to
Not one
write
one
it.
one not not one 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 not not.
Oh, really? You can actually... Really?
Yeah, why not?
Why was he speaking in binary code again?
That's his main way of communicating.
Right. So he didn't have a lot of friends, I take
He
it.
had. He was a popular enough guy, but he had a persona on stage which was something like Terminator.
Yes.
So he's very.
He
He
was
still played the drums beautifully.
He was a very, he was someone who went to the gym and out.
Yeah,
you know,
he's.
Actually
so
looked after himself.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, unlike some of us.
wouldn't drink or anything like that. But
Okay, wow.
he was a lovely guy.
He's now a
and,
paramedic.
Oh, wow, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, retrained as a paramedic.
I always used to upset him by bossing him around.
God,
And so we had this little kind of thing going on, and but he started being I think I insulted him once, didn't I, by saying, what did I say?
What
I
it
can't remember.
was, as I recall, which is not necessarily the truth, was that he used to flip drumsticks and juggle them behind
yes,
you,
yeah.
and you suddenly twigged that he was doing that while you were talking to the audience, and you felt it was somewhat upstaging
Yes.
Miss Roberts,
Well,
and you told him to stop, stop doing that, stop messing around, you should just stay still while I'm doing the introduction to the song. So in response, he stopped
yes.
and wearing shades. So they can't even see his eyes.
But it's very good actually.
It's absolutely
I have
brilliant,
to
actually,
admit,
yeah.
it wasn't bad.
But oh, you're the band with the Terminator on drums, aren't you?
Yes.
So it was actually adding a lot to the sort of look of the band, and we can't talk about though that era and the origins of the band without mentioning Guy.
Oh,
my
Guy,
band.
beautiful Guy.
Yeah, the lovely Guy, and he's a composer actually. He's written pieces that have been on Radio 3 in the last few years, and he's now lives in Peterborough because he's from Peterborough. It's not just a
He
random
went and
choice.
got married.
He went and got married. He's got about 3 kids now.
He's like normal dad now.
Yeah, yeah, fairly normal dad.
Yeah.
Still got long blonde hair though.
Well, he's going to hang on to that forever.
He's
isn't
going to
he?
hang on till it all falls out, I
I actually
think.
knew someone from Peterborough with long blonde hair that I met in India. I wonder if it's the same.
That could easily be. I think he might have. He probably would have gone to India at some point. He's very much on that sort of. Yeah, it's not out of character for him. Superb bass player. He's a big fan of Les Claypool. There's like lots of slapping and pulling, and so really fluent. But he's also grade 8. No, he's above that, a diploma level pianist. So he's at
Wow.
university. I wrote a piece for him when I was at uni and he played it. And he's
Hang on, what was that, Miss Roberts? He just went blah 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 blah. What was
Well, I just have to say, our bass player now is bloody brilliant.
she
and,
is, yes.
And
absolutely.
we can't go on about Guy without mentioning her.
Well, we've had several.
Well, yes,
Pretty-
we're not
pretty
short
good.
of,
Not
of
short,
bass
but-
players
Or drummers.
or drummers.
Yeah. But he was like one of the founders of the band, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yes.
He came on later, didn't he?
Guy?
Guy! Oh, Guy!
No.
I,
It's Guy and Owie, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
People who don't know. Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
yeah.
Well, no, but I'm going to ask one last question before we get on to the psychic stuff. Yeah, which is, where would you like your band to go in the future?
Well, this is quite a question.
After you.
I know, where would you like the band
Where
to
would I
go?
like to? Oh, I don't know. The Bahamas, maybe.
I'll come with you.
Ideally,
Could be better than here.
it's.
What's wrong with my library?
Well, not the library. I just meant the bloody general. England in general.
England in general.
There are probably
Bit
better
cold.
places we could live.
Yeah. I mean,
Possibly.
I'm quite taken with Berlin as it happens. I enjoyed Poland when I've been there. I travelled around Europe in the past, and pretty much everywhere was pretty good. South Africa, I quite like to go to. No, speaking in terms of where I'd like the band to go, we've got so much stuff recorded that we have to try and get that out into the world. So we're planning on something that will reflect the nature of the band properly, which would be probably a booklet with illustrations and so on.
That's not where we're going, though, is it?
Isn't it?
Well,
And then we're going to be trying to do several of those every few months, or a couple or 3 a year.
I suppose it depends what your question like.
Right,
yes.
What would you think of the future of the band? I mean, what would you like to achieve musically, or where would you like it to go? What would you like? I mean, obviously, if most people go, oh, I'd like loads of money, and I'd like to be, I'd like to be a superstar, and people worshipping me. Obviously, you're not going to say that. So I was just wondering what your perspective would be on success, maybe.
I've just realised I'm going to look dreadful in your camera shots.
Getting down.
So,
So what's your idea of success? International fame, stardom, hordes of adoring fans. I'd like to be getting more material stuff out there so people can hear us in other places. We're talking to someone at the moment about doing
So
some
you're
more-
talking more about input than sort of like receiving stuff.
Possibly, yes. Yeah.
So so that's important to you to put stuff in and not take stuff out
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, absolutely.
What
Yeah.
about you, Miss Roberts?
Well, as you can possibly tell, I like the theatre.
Yeah.
So I would like, ideally, us to be doing something like Shock-Headed Peter that the Tiger Lilies did. But also, I would like to have a proper library or museum of obscure wonders, which would also have run theatre things as well. So we would we would do theatrical type things, and I suppose that's what I'm most interested in is music and theatre, but I hate musicals. So
Some of them are all right.
apart from Shocking Peter by the
that was pretty
Your
good.
obscure, what's it, obscure, what would you call this obscure stuff in your museum? What would you say it was? You said you were going to be a museum with obscure
wonders.
wonders. That's it.
Yeah.
What obscure wonders? Obscure. God, I can't even say it. Obscure wonders would you have in your museum? And what would you? What is it? Stuff you've already got, or is it stuff that you'd like to get hold of?
Well, you see, the world is full of beautiful stuff. Just walking down the road, there's amazing stuff there. There's beautiful leaves, there's beautiful skies. Just looking out of that window now is wonderful. And so I'm interested in showing people that. And also, when you're performing and you've got a good crowd, you can take that crowd into something else. You can get them dancing, you can get them cheering, you can get them, especially if they're wearing masks, I've discovered.
Really?
Yeah.
Then they go,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
And I love that. I absolutely adore that.
Okay, so but basically you can't. Is the sky an obscure wonder?
I can't have the whole sky in my museum.
It's tricky.
Is it obscure though? It's not really obscure, is it? Because everybody
Depends
can
how
see it.
cloudy it is.
Well,
That's a good answer.
that moment isn't it? And I suppose I'm talking about the moment.
The wonder is obscure, whereas
So-
the sky isn't.
You think the moment is more important than everything else? Achieving something in that moment or showing something in that moment?
Or the experience in that moment, especially
Mm.
if it's a group experience.
Experience, yeah.
And
Okay.
that's one of the things with actually playing. The ideal for me is to forget who I am while I'm playing. I'm just doing it.
Yeah, basically I want to be James Brown. A mixture of...
You don't look much like James Brown,
No.
I must say that.
No,
So
you've got a way to go.
you've got a way to go.
James Brown, and who was that other guy who did the... I think he's still alive. He did the... Coming out of a... Oh, we do a cover of his song.
What?
We do.
Did we?
Yeah.
From Richmond, the Modern Lovers?
No, the
Um,
potion guy.
Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Screaming Jay
Oh,
Hawkins.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put
yeah,
a
yeah.
spell on you.
Yes, yes.
Is
Yes.
that what you do?
Alligator wine. We do alligator wine.
We do alligator
Yeah.
wine.
I love that. So do you know he had about 100 children or something ridiculous? But Screaming Jay Hawkins was
Yeah,
really
he's
good.
great. I mean, that theatrical side of things, now Miss Roberts says it, I mean, that's something that we really have thought about a lot, that it would be better in some ways to be not doing the standard rock circuit where you, like, there's great bands out there and I enjoy them, but they're often a lot louder than is really suitable for us, where the emphasis is on the lyric. And unless you've got a big venue with a really good PA and a sound engineer and you've got proper on-stage monitoring, it is very difficult to get the voice and the words intelligible above a band. A rock band is quite a loud thing, just the drums dictate the lowest volume you can really work with. Whereas theatre, it's more usual for people to expect to have something that's more focused on words, performance, ideas, things that develop and change.
Storytelling.
Yeah,
And obviously I
storytelling.
like puppets and things
Yeah.
like that as well.
Puppets.
So-
Masks.
Puppets can be quite macabre though.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
a
that's
thing.
what you like about them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, while we're here, I want to ask you, you're a psychic? Or you do card readings and ball readings?
Oh
and,
yeah.
And, I mean, I hate to quote Hollywood films, but do you see dead people?
Yeah.
Because there's a barmaid in my local pub and she does.
Oh,
And she was telling me all these things that she can see with me. Can you see auras?
see what?
Auras.
Yeah.
What colour is mine? Have I got one?
Yeah, of course you have.
And what colour is it?
Well, it depends, doesn't it?
depends on what. I mean, basically, I tell you, this is what I was told, right, by this barmaid, the psychic. I said, can you see my aura? And she said, yes. And I said, what colour is it? And she said, it's purple. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, I haven't got a bloody clue.
I was thinking it's more green personally, but there you go.
You can see auras too.
No.
The thing
I can make
is,
things up if I need to. No, purple, I believe, is a colour which moves into the other realm. Is one of the things of it. It's very close to being a white aura, which is sort of like the most intense and pure of the auras, which of course is what mine is.
Of course.
I get real, as in scientifically proven auras from my epilepsy.
Right.
As so it is difficult to tell what's what because the epilepsy means I get auras and I hallucinate and I get a lot of very, very weird stuff. And of course the GP would say, well, that's to do with your epilepsy.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to know what's what, and you know, because I get all this stuff and there's a GP there who'll come along and say, well, that's so and so. Do you get what I mean?
Well, in Victorian times, all this was a science.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was they actually all this like you know, speaking to the dead, basically tarot card. It was supposed to, it was they considered it science, and
Yeah.
it's only sort of like I think when Harry Houdini sort of like started debunking loads of it, that it went down the drain. But so basically, do you still think it's a science?
Well, I'm in the middle, I suppose, because for me, everything is alive in some way, or it has an energy to it. Absolutely everything, and that means it matters, and the world is a magical place.
I think American Indians used to think every object has some sort of a soul.
Yes.
They call them manitous, is it?
I
Something
wouldn't know,
like
I'm
that.
not an expert in these things, but that
And
sounds
so
correct.
they think everything is like has some sort of spirit to it,
Yeah.
even inanimate objects.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
things you own long enough acquire a character. So if you have a car for years and years, that's becoming, in some sense, animate, and you start talking to it. So come on, why don't you really start? You know, you chat to it. Certainly, my guitars that I've had for years and played for years, I feel that they are actually living things. Whether that's just by extension because I've been using them, or whether they've acquired that
Well, we talk of
independently. We
some
talk to them.
reality, but really, I mean, it's quite painful in a way. We come up with this reality to keep us okay, to keep us
to
safe.
deal with things, yeah.
And a good friend of mine was giving a talk the other day on weird things. This is great, but he's talking about strange things as if they're tiny things that we come across, but they're not, because we don't know anything outside of our well, we organise things and that keeps them safe, and it's great because it keeps it safe. I'm still fascinated by the rest of it, but my God, if you're having hallucinations and stuff, it's terrifying because the world we have now does not allow that. It puts it into a medical thing and says, oh yes, you just need a tablet for that. But that's not dealing with the...
No, I don't think so either. And I think basically, the world is a lot sort of like that. They try to make the world in a smaller, but basically, so you can't see the rest of it.
Yeah.
I think that is what they're doing. I mean, it's very different. I mean, there must be stuff beyond, you know what I mean, that you can see. I mean, it depends on your perception. I mean, some people have sharper perception and they can see beyond, but they just want everybody sharp. They don't want people to sharpen their
I
perception.
don't think it's even want. I don't think it's actually that deliberate or conscious. It's that there's these tendencies. We want to give everything a label. So taxonomy is very, very important to humans, and people try and put things into very definite. So if you're talking about sound, I've read books and books and books where they're basically just about trying to categorise different types of sound.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that is, I don't know, what is the purpose of doing that? It goes back to Linnaeus and categorising living things, so plants and animals, and giving them 2 Latin names.
There's a safety there, isn't
But
there?
yes, it's known, it can be, I've managed to put it in this, is that a so-and-so or so-and-so, and people get into big debates about this. So we have what I think what they call reification, where you turn a word you've got into a real noun and then start worrying about what it really means. What is art? Well, it's just a word that we use to describe a certain type of human activity, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And if you get worried about whether or not something is art, that's just it's not. It doesn't. It's not a big deal. That's what Duchamp was about, wasn't it? With the fountain and so on.
I suppose that's why I'm into the moment, because then you're just there and you're experiencing the stuff that's happening to you. It's very immediate and is I don't know.
They can basically, right now what I want to ask you, have either of you ever seen a ghost or something that can't be explained? Because I know I have. So I want to ask you about your experience, so I'll tell you about mine as well. So.
Myself? No, I'm so unbelievably unpsychic. But having said that, I have been told that when I've made little offhand comments about things, people have been like, how do you know that? So, coincidence, yes, I mean that accounts for, with 8 billion people on the planet, there's bound to be a lot of coincidences. So I can speak for myself.
But it's frequencies, isn't it? It's training of
it's how often something happens. So I'm the fact I don't actually experience that kind of thing myself. I know Marina does. She has quite a few very, very definite experiences of past lives manifesting and being able to see stuff. So,
right. Well, let me tell you about a couple of my psychic experiences. Well, actually,
I'm absolutely freezing, so I'm just going to go and get something.
Okay.
A little bit warmer. Slip into something more comfortable. Less comfortable.
Careful, Chapman.
Oh, I'm being careful.
I'm on the
Awesome.
right level to get your stomach.
Go and get me a prosecco.
Yes.
A natural reflex twinge.
To answer your question, I get a lot of ghosts, and if I went to the doctor and told them about that, they would say that's because you've got a weird growth in your
Because they
brain.
have to put it into sort of like terms like, into really giving you pills and sort of like terms. They can't think of anything that you might perceive something that they can't see.
Yeah, very much so. Wolfgang.
Wolfgang is a ghost. I think Derek might be.
I think Derek probably was a ghost. I think Wolfgang, the last song on the Cyclops and the Wildebeest, is about one of the ghosts.
Yes,
you really do need to tell them about that if you were trying to think of something.
Wolfgang was the ghost who lived in the flat before me, and he died. But he was a very interesting character because there was this funny basement type thing that you had to climb to get to, and in it was absolutely loads and loads of junk just piled up in a mountain, and then also under the garden, because there's a small garden there, and I did some digging because I wanted to plant some plants, but underneath there was just there was a what do you call it?
Old mattress.
There was an old mattress, which might have just been somebody dumping a mattress.
Loads of bones.
But the spooky, loads and loads of bones,
Loads of
absolutely loads of bones. But the really spooky thing was a very long children's, well not children's, where you hang clothes, very long clothesline, and with on it was lots and lots of children's clothes.
Okay, buried in a garden. That seems very
Yeah.
weird. Unless it
Very
fell
weird.
down and got buried naturally somehow.
And
But
they just, but who leaves the children's?
Left
My
very,
God.
very, very abruptly.
if they left in a hurry, yeah.
But he used to come and haunt me for a while when I first moved in.
Monty used to bark us in, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Monty could see him as well.
Who's
And then,
Monty?
oh, he was my dog.
Okay.
at the
right.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little Yorkie.
He was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wolfgang would sort of hang around the his you could feel him in the house, and smell him as well. It was a very odd,
What did he smell like?
well, like a old smelly man.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So, Derek smelled, didn't he?
Derek, yeah, I've got a very strong
Sweat.
sense of smell, but I don't know if it's. I can't tell if it's a nice smell or a nasty smell that I'm
Okay.
smelling. But yeah, and yeah, but we did that song for him, and yeah, gradually he disappeared.
It's a good song. I liked Wolfgang.
Yeah,
Can't do it live because it's just like too.
and I'd see the shadow of him on things. It was, yeah, it was very strange.
Go and pop something warm on, and I'll go and
Yes.
top the glass up when we come back.
Anybody want a cup of tea?
Well, as I say,
Coffee.
I'll do the tea. You come back down when you've got yourself a bit warmer.
Coffee, tea.
Black coffee, please.
Black
Black
coffee.
coffee.
I'll make it, and unless you're staying up there for a few minutes.
No, you make it.
Okay. Go.
You don't tell me.
When I looked up, there was all these tentacles coming out, like shadows moving about, all the way down, all the way down. And when I looked to the left side of the bed, there was two tentacles, like just hanging loose, spinning. Anyway, in the end, I thought, well, I'm not walking through them, so I just covered my head up and went to sleep. But you know what I mean? I thought if they wanted to get me, it would have got me by now, but I don't want to walk through it. So I just stayed there and I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, it was all gone. Do you know what that was?
Well, it could have been a message to you.
Message.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I think there are types of. There are gods, and in a way they're in everything. And they do. They're aware of what we're doing, and they do send messages to us.
But they are other dimensional or our dimension? Do you think it could have been interdimensional?
Well, I don't know what people mean when they talk about that, but I know I know that there are many layers to this world. Many layers. We can't cope with the number of layers there are. There's so much.
But we can't see it.
Yeah, we can't experience it. Layers upon layers, and these gods that I talk about, they're like on a different layer to us. And I think maybe when we die, we go to a different layer, a different one. So I suppose, is that dimensional? Is that what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I think it's like string theory where everything's vibrating and you can only see like a very small part
Yeah.
there. That's there. And then you've got interdimensional where there are other dimensions on top of us, but we can't see them, but they can come through sometimes to ours, and
Yeah,
that's what probably ghosts are, maybe.
yeah.
It's hard to say. But so you do crystal ball readings?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you find that easy, hard, or?
Depends. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes I am very wary of it because I get the feeling that, I don't know, I get funny feelings sometimes, like I'm not supposed to be doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
And do you know where those feelings come from? Do you think it's coming from you, or do you think it's coming
I
from
think
someone
it's
else?
me. I think I get nervous about contacting other spirits or.
Have you ever predicted the future with a crystal ball? I mean, like you've seen something, because I haven't experienced that myself. But basically, have you ever looked into it? Because I used to do something called palm staring. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Palm staring, have you ever heard that?
Palm reading. Is
Palm
it?
staring, just staring into palms.
Oh right.
Okay. So, but basically, have you ever predicted the future?
Yes.
What can you tell us what it was?
Well, it was just it was for me, and I asked. I can't remember what it was. And it's happened a couple of times, but this particular time, it was about a relationship I'd been in, and how things were going to go in the future. And it said it's going to be a long path, and it's going to be, there's going to be lots and lots of tweaks and things to trip over. But don't worry, eventually you'll find the end to it.
So you saw that in a crystal ball?
Sorry?
You saw that in a crystal
Yeah.
ball? Wow. But so you do tarots also?
Yeah. And I do, what do you call it? I can't remember what you call it now, but I suppose it's very like meditation, but it's very pictorial, where you go down into a garden, and through the garden,
Okay.
and you go into this other kind of world thing. And one of the interesting things about that is now and again in the garden, if I have a particular medical problem, in the garden I will find a herb that is going to help the medical problem, which is interesting.
Okay. So what about automatic writing? You ever done that?
No, I haven't done that.
Okay. Because you get automatic drawing as well. People actually draw it, don't they? It's
Yeah.
Like, I've seen people do it. I mean, I don't know. It's.
And that reminds me quite a lot, which I do all the time, of things like Paul Clay's. He did that, didn't he? Where you play with the pencil basically,
yeah.
and see where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
And then there's the Dada
Dada, yes.
thing where you flip the books. The corpse. I can't remember the name.
But right. So, do you think there is a lot of charlatans in the psychic world? I mean, I could name Derek Acora. Do you remember Derek Acora?
No.
Oh, this guy. I used to do Most Haunted program. He was like, but he used to just read where they were going and that. So somehow he used to get under the script, and it's total rubbish. I mean, he got proved to, like, you know. I mean, it was this Scouse bloke with all these gold rings on. I'm not going. My wife's going, oh, he's got to be real. And he's going, nobody would be that blatant, have all those gold sobbing rings on. And I'm going, no, he's a charlatan. But he's got, and it turns out he was a charlatan, and I was right. It was so obvious, you know what I mean, that he didn't know nothing. He was just a con man, you know what I mean. But have you ever come across people like that? Psychic con man?
I don't know. I can never tell.
You can't tell?
I don't know really. Yes, I have. As a child, there was a couple of charlatans around then.
Can you tell us apart?
Oh, I can't remember very well, but yeah, I can't remember. It's hard to say unless they've been absolutely proven.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I also think a lot of times, because I used to go to this church, spiritual church, and you have this one person. Have you been to one of those?
No.
Well, you have this one person on stage often, and they read the minds of the people around them and what's bothering them. So they'll often have someone who's died or something like that, and this person reads that in them. But and what the person who's died wants, why he's or she is asking them things. And I think sometimes when you watch them, sometimes they are, if they're not receiving anything, they'll make it up because they have to. They're on stage.
You brought your crystal ball down earlier. I can't see it now. It's over there. Okay. Would you give us a crystal ball reading?
I'll try.
Okay. See if you can see anything interesting. I don't know.
Though it's a bit like the people at the spiritual church. I don't think being under pressure helps.
No, well, I'm not putting you under pressure.
No,
you know what I mean? Just see what you can see. If you see anything you don't, I don't care. You know what I mean? It'd be nice, but basically, just. I've never looked into crystal ball. I've always wanted to buy one, but I mean, I'm not sure about buying crystal balls with an actual crystal balls or not. You know what I mean? It's like they go, oh, it's real crystal, and is it? You know what I mean? And they're quite expensive crystal balls, aren't they?
Well, I didn't buy mine, it was from a friend. These things, both those and the cards, I prefer it. It's somehow more special if it's given to me from a friend.
Well, these things are only supposed to work if they are given to you. Tarot cards only work if they're given to you as a gift. You can't just get tarot cards and buy some and work. They have to be given to you. It's just, my grandmother is playing cards, playing cards. And so he just used to playing cards, and she used to do it with playing cards, a whole lot with playing cards. My grandmother was a psychic. She also used to hang around with someone called the Great Orlando, who had a little place in Broadstairs, and she had, on the rafters on the inside, she had a pigeon that used to sit on the rafters on the top, which was her husband, apparently reincarnated as a pigeon. And she'd go, I forget his name, I think it's Albert or something. She'd go, oh, he's not very happy today, Albert. He's sitting on the rafters, and he's just sitting there with her. And it was like, my dad used to, be doing things on that, but because the firm he worked for used to have like concessions there and stuff, so he used to go off and he used to leave me with her. She used to sit down, she used to go, would you like a cup of tea? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll have a cup of tea. And I was like about 10 or something. She used to bring it there. The tea used to come and pick up. She go, don't drink that one, it's got the gin in it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let's hear your stories.
Well, I would never say that I'm not, well, I don't know what I am. I have no idea. I know I experience lots of very strange things. And I know my great-grandmother was a witch.
Okay. Where was she based?
Wales.
Tea, 2 sugars.
Thank you very much. So, carry on. Your grandmother? Great-grandmother was a witch?
Yep, in Wales.
Wales, okay. And can you tell me a little about her?
Well, it was her profession. She used to read cards and do a crystal ball. But she was also a Christian, a very strong Christian as well. And she was quite famous for what she did. She was known throughout, the local area and stuff. She did things like there's a few people she couldn't change what she predicted. That was the sad thing. So there was a couple of people, including my great uncle, whose death she predicted, and she asked, say like my great uncle, she asked him not to go to war. He was in the Navy, and she knew he was going to drown. I think she saw it in the crystal ball. so he came back from the war or whatever. Was it a war? I don't know. Anyway, he came back because she said, you know, you're going to die. But he ended up drowning while swimming in a lake near where she lived.
Oh dear.
So it's quite sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. So, right, okay, so she was, now would you call yourself a witch?
I wouldn't, because I don't currently do it professionally.
Do you think you have to do it professionally to be a witch?
I don't know, what is the determining factor of witchness?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I haven't got a bloody clue. Don't ask me. I don't know. So,
Some would call me a witch.
okay. But you wouldn't call yourself a witch?
No.
Okay. So, I think somebody suggested a little church or a little something in here. I don't know what it was. I don't know. There's some sort of exhibition of something.
Oh, well, there's the cabinets and obscure wonders and so on and so
Haven't
forth.
you noticed me exhibition?
I know, but
There's more in there.
I've seen this stuff, but basically we need explanations of each item
Okay.
because if you don't get the explanation, it's just stuff.
I think you better explain
So-
some of it.
Yeah.
Explain that one there.
Which
the
one?
Skull. I
Oh,
love
that's
skulls.
that was. I saw that. I was on holiday drawing. That was a funny time, and I stay in a hut on my own. There's nobody else there.
Where is this?
Cornwall.
Okay.
And one day I was going for a walk, and there was a deer dying. It had fallen off this ledge,
Yeah.
human-built ledge, and it was lying there and it was dying, and I really wanted to help it because it was in a horrible way, and I asked around, but they said no, you know, just you're going to have to leave it to die. There's no way we can save this creature. And so I'd go and watch it, and I figured there was a place I could go, and it didn't bother it. It took absolutely ages to die. I mean, it really did. And I was so upset about it. And then it did die. And I obviously went home back to London. And then the following, it must have been a few months later, or maybe 6 months later, I went back there because I had a kind of residency there. And so I went back, and I found, quite bizarrely, because the people who owned the place, I'd told them about it, and they'd gone looking for the skull and looking for parts of the body. Couldn't find it. I went and I found it, the whole body and the skull. But it was being eaten by lots and lots of different things. The flesh, obviously, was being eaten away, and it was quite beautiful. It was.
But it must have smelt horrible.
It didn't smell that bad. It was out in the open, and there was lots of creatures, lots of dung beetles, and all sorts of things feeding on it. And for some reason it was like a magical moment, because this creature was helping the lives of all these other creatures.
Right. Okay.
So it was magical, and when it had been eaten away, which obviously took a bit of time, I picked up the skull and I showed it to the people who owned the place, who initially wanted it themselves, but then they said, well, since you saw the creature die, you know, you could have it. So that's it's kind of special to me. It's like, well, it contains part of that deer still, and it also is. Yes, it has a power to it.
Okay. The rat. I'm not keen on rats. Is that a rat?
This?
Yes.
No, this is, it's an Australian creature.
Like it's a wombat.
It could be. It was given to me by one of my dad's patients. My dad does acupuncture and osteopathy. And she was a very old lady, and she hadn't. She spent a lot of her life in Australia, and she used to write articles, I think for the BBC or someone like that, or the Guardian or something like that, on what was going on in Australia. But yeah, she gave that to me, and she said it's magical. She didn't explain any more, and she's dead now. But she said it's magical.
Is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but it's nice.
Now this is quite interesting because this looks like a leaf, a beer mat, like a little nest with petals in it. What does that mean? Is it all connected, or is it just?
I think those are random, aren't they? There's that connection. I mean, I can tell you exactly what that is for myself. So this is it's a coaster, and this was given to me, in fact, by my parents, along with a half dozen others. And if you see a design on there, I think they're probably eland, which is a type of antelope in Africa, and the painting's done by the San, or the Sankoi.
Or the Bushman.
The Bushman is the old name for them. The San did a lot of rock art. They were the indigenous inhabitants of southern Africa before anyone else got there. So they're their own very distinct people. They have their own blood group, for example. They're much smaller than most Africans. They're slightly sallow towards yellowish in skin tone, and there's not many actual San left who could sort of say they're definitely descended from the San, but they're mixed in with a lot of people in the southern part of the Cape. There's the old name for them is the Cape Coloured, and they would be a mixture of Black African, European, a few sort of people who are Indian and so on, and the San. And you still, when you go around in that part of South Africa, you do see people, you definitely think, yes, so I can see you have that particular look.
But the interesting thing that I was fascinated by is that their religion, and at the time I was having my epilepsy weirdness, and it was just it's before it was properly, they'd worked out what was wrong with me and all that. So I was still, uncertain. And those people they go into this trance state they get together and they dance and sing chants and go into this trance state where they have all sorts of hallucinations and stuff like that, and those paintings are from their hallucinations. And so that's what interested me, is that you can have a culture where such things as hallucinations are not to be got rid of. They're an important part of the culture.
A couple of the things, I mean, we were very lucky because my dad did loads of research. When we were out there was very little about them. Now they've become
quite fashionable
more
now.
Fashionable, I suppose you call it, and you've got the rock art route that you can walk around and go and see pieces of. But at the time, if you wanted to go and see it, it was very difficult. My father was someone who went for, he phoned people up and found contacts and took us off to see some of this stuff. And then a few years later, it becomes sufficiently popular and renowned to go on to coasters. So they got some coasters for us as a present, and I think they're really nice. The interesting thing about the rock art, which I sort of researched a little bit myself, there's certain commonalities between what was still is painted by the San, and stuff you get, say, in Scotland and things all over China and America, Europe. And there's things like spiral patterns or concentric circles and things like that. And they think a lot of these things are seem to be what people hallucinate when they go into trance states, and it's maybe connected with things like psilocybin. And there's the thought that you know, the beaker people, what were they drinking in that in those beakers? You know, they used to smash them afterwards. So there's a sort of a very deep substrate of stuff going on there, which I find very interesting myself.
Of the culture.
A couple of the things, I mean, we were very lucky because my dad did loads of research when we were out there. There was very little about them. Now they've become
Quite fashionable.
more
now.
fashionable, I suppose you call it, and you've got the rock art route that you can walk around and go and see pieces of. But at the time, if you wanted to go and see it, it was very difficult. My father was someone who went for, like, he phoned people up and, you know, found contacts and took us off to see some of this stuff. And then a few years later, it becomes sufficiently popular and renowned to go on to coasters. So they got some coasters for us as a present, and yeah, I think they're really nice. The interesting thing about the rock art, which I sort of researched a little bit myself, there's certain commonalities between what still is painted by the San, and stuff you get, say, in Scotland and things all over China and America, Europe. And there's things like spiral patterns or concentric circles and things like that. And they think a lot of these things are seem to be what people hallucinate when they go into trance states, and it's maybe connected with things like psilocybin. And there's the thought that you know, the beaker people, what were they drinking in those beakers? You know, they used to smash them afterwards. So there's a sort of a very deep substrate of stuff going on there, which I find very interesting myself. You'd have to. I don't know what. I've no idea what that is. What is it?
Well, I can only ask you about one more item because we'll be here all day, because you've got a lot of interesting stuff in there. I mean, loads of interesting stuff in there. I mean, I could go through every single item, but we'd be here till next week. Well, we'll be here forever. You know what I mean? Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But tell us about the pearls in the thing, what that is.
The pebbles in the thing.
Yeah, is it pearls in there? Looks like.
Yeah, it's a broken necklace,
Right.
and it was a necklace that was given by a friend of me. So it was quite an important necklace. I didn't want to just throw it away.
Right.
So I did that. I made that clay thing for it to look after them.
Okay. That's...
A normal person would just make another necklace, but not me.
No, that's very cool. Now, we're going to go back to the band now.
Right.
And John wants you to do something a cappella.
What?
A cappella.
Who wants me to do this? You
He
do.
wants us to do a song. I'll get my guitar.
So interesting that I couldn't think of a better way to end it.
What's your most treasured item here?
My most treasured one. Oh, that depends. Oh, maybe, though this could change, but it might be my Sheila and the Gig.
What is that?
It's a carving of a woman with. She's having a good time and she's got her bits out. And
Really, I'll have a look then.
Sheila and the Gigs were on churches.
Oh my goodness. Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were.
They're a bit of a mystery. Nobody knows why they were on churches.
PJ Harvey.
That
has a
was
song
here
about 'em.
in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sheila McGiggs.
Why would they put that on a church? That sounds a bit-
No one knows.
No one knows quite how it got there and why
Wow.
they're common. It's not even.
So that's your
a-
favourite at the moment.
Well, it's because the reason it's my favourite at the moment is
Was
because.
it a
Sorry?
It's a cast, is it?
No, I made that.
Oh,
you
right,
see.
okay.
I had a big exhibition with my friend Jill Rock, all about this subject, but the reason I think she's my favourite at the moment is because her nose, I broke her nose, and I recently have mended her nose, and she looks much happier now.
That sounds about right.
So we're doing Derek then?
Oh, can do.
Or shall we do you want to start with Point the Gun?
Okay.
Because I don't need harmonica on that, do I? Push the table over, baby, it's time to go. Point the gun, take the money, let's head for that sun. I can't stand this damn cold winter, I need a better deal. Come on, baby, just take time and punch and steal. Sweet tomorrow, beautiful one. Let's run, sweet tomorrow, pretty boy. Point the gun. I can see the devil in your innocent eyes. I can see him smile at me, for he knows that I am wise. I calculated out every step, I pulled out our escape. No looking back now, baby, it's in the hands of fate. Sweet tomorrow, beautiful one. Let's run, sweet tomorrow, pretty boy. There are beaches to be lain upon, wide oceans to swim, carnivals to dance like fools, parading everywhere. We'll fly like angels on a newfound land and preach to the sun. Fly naked in forgotten forests, but we still won't be done. Push the table over, baby, it's time to go. Point the gun, take the money, let's head for that sun. I can't stand this damn cold winter, I need a better deal. Come on, baby, don't waste time, point and steal. Sweet tomorrow, beautiful one. Let's run, sweet tomorrow, pretty boy. Sweet tomorrow, beautiful one. Let's run, sweet tomorrow, pretty boy. Oh, point the gun.
Well done.
Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Green is the colour of his eyes. Pale is the colour of my lover's skin. Silver is the colour of the knife. Yellow are the ropes that tie his body. Purple the marks left on his skin. Blue are the words that escape his mouth. Silver is the colour of my lover's hair. Silver is the colour of the night. Red is the colour of my lover's lips, but his kiss grew tiring with time. Battered and bruised is the body that falls down to the nighttime floor. Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Silver is the colour of the knife. Silver is the colour of the knife. Silver is the colour of the knife. And it felt a strange attraction to his back. Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Black is the colour of my lover's hair. Black is the colour of my lover's